The Aston Martin Vanquish falls into that rarefied group of cars you might own simply to have in the house on display. You'd frame it with worn tires and bottles of wine. There'd be a plaque bearing its name. That'd be unfortunate, though, to cage such a thing, because the Vanquish was built with lessons learned from the Aston Martin 177, which costs over $1 million and only 77 are in existence. The Vanquish's body is made of carbon fiber. The chassis uses both aluminum and carbon fiber, and the 565-horse V12 sits mostly behind the front axle, nestled up and close and cozy to the firewall. As the replacement for the DBS, the Vanquish is Aston Martin's new flagship, but does it have the performance to back up that title? The new Vanquish has launch control and it's very effective. The first thing you want to do though, not because it makes you faster, but because it makes the car sound so much nicer, is hit this little S button right here. It opens up the valves in the exhaust and sounds very nice indeed. Launch control is very simple. You hit the launch control button, it prompts you to press the brake as hard as you can, and once you do that, you just mat the gas. And away we go. A little bit of wheel spin, you might need to steer a little bit. You'll get 60 miles an hour in 4 seconds, and probably the nicest V12 engine note there is. It's very smooth, above 100 miles an hour. Quarter mile, 12.3 seconds at just over 116 miles an hour. And for our 60 to 0 braking test, we have very sticky Pirelli P0 tires and big carbon ceramic discs at all 4 corners. Our best stop from 60, just 104 feet. Now we begin the figure 8 test of the Aston Martin Vanquish. This is a big car, and you notice that quickly around the figure 8. It's partly because your view is obstructed by the engine. There's a lot of understeer mid-corner, more than I would expect for a sports car or even a Grand Touring car like this. And the reward is exiting out of a corner and just listening to that V12 sing. It is glorious. To be honest, I was not completely in love with the Vanquish after our day at the test track. I thought it was too heavy, too big, too much understeer in the chassis, and I didn't think the transmission was quite up to snuff. The difference is, though, the track is all about limit handling. Once you take it on the road, it becomes a very different car. This Vanquish is bigger than an SLS, it's bigger than a Viper, versus the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. That car is actually a little bit wider, but this car is longer and taller. And because of that, because there's so much car around here, it weighs 3,900 pounds, despite being made primarily out of aluminum and carbon fiber. Despite all this, despite the size, the weight, the small outward visibility, this is a very good driving car. Now, I attribute that to a couple different things. The first is the steering, which is very nice. It's a hydraulically assisted rack, and it gives great feel of the road through the wheel itself. When it comes off center, though, it just gives you such good reaction from the front tires that you barely have to do any work on the steering itself. It's very pleasant. The ride is also helping as well. It's firm, it's taut, but it gives you such good control, especially when you go over bumps. Yeah, you'll feel a little vibration in the steering itself, but it's kind of invigorating when you're cruising up this road. Most importantly, though, is this. The sound this thing makes is simply triumphant. And that brings us to the engine. This is a 5.9 liter V12, not a 6 liter V12, as Aston will tell you, and as it's badged, because it displaces 5,935 cc's. That engine, though, sits lower in this chassis than before. It sits close to the firewall, and you get the sense that it's just sitting right here in front of the dash. It's not a sports car. You may look outside, you may see the orange paint, the carbon fiber, and the raceseed wheels and tires and whatnot. The way it sounds, you may think, yeah, supercar, sports car. It's not, though. This thing is not gonna embarrass a 911. In fact, this thing will be slightly slower, I'd argue, than a DB9. Now, if you're okay with that, you can enjoy it at a slower pace, great. And this is the kind of car you'd figure somebody would drive, they'd get out and they'd go, quiet. You know, on their way to get some tea or something. And I'm not that kind of person, but I really enjoy this. Really enjoy that. Yeah. Now, part of the new interior is this center stack, which has been redesigned. We have these buttons. They aren't really buttons. They're just sort of flat glass that you poke with your finger. They vibrate when you get it right and turn on, like the seat heaters, for example, or the HVAC system. They work okay. Typically, you have to jab the button a few times before it will respond. I kind of wish we just had buttons. Did you know that cow farts are really bad for the atmosphere? In fact, some argue that cows are worse than cars. I bring that up because of the Vanquish's interior, which is just covered in leather. See, on the roof even. And when you look at this interior and you see the leather on all the surfaces, on the doors, on the roof, on the center armrest here, you have to think about how many cows died to make this interior. This car is a cow-killing machine, making it really environmentally friendly when you think about it. The most rewarding moments with the Vanquish aren't the ones when you're throwing it through an apex with the tires spinning and with sweat on your brow, but when you're driving smoothly, reveling in the sound it makes and the sensation of guiding it through a road. And when, after you've parked it, you admire it from a distance. Take the Vanquish for what it intends to be, not what the carbon fiber neckbeard and name hints at, and you have an unmistakably special car.